Hey everyone, my name is Joe Keohan, and I'm hosting a React for D3 workshop Saturday, September 8th at General Assembly. And the workshop is for people who kind of work with D3 but want to incorporate React into their project. So we're going to spend a lot of time working with React and ultimately combining the two technologies together. In this video, I just wanted to spend some time and introduce myself. I'm the lead instructor, one of the lead instructors at General Assembly. I currently teach their full-time web development immersive bootcamp, which is a 3-month immersive. We learn a lot of technologies about web development. I also teach their front-end web development and JavaScript development part-time courses. I've been working with D3 for over 4 years, and just in the past year, I've had 2 other workshops, a 1-day D3 bootcamp and a 2-day D3 bootcamp, as well as hosting some D3 meetups at GA. I'll provide a link to the meetups below, and these are some of the topics that we've covered. I'm looking to get the meetup back up and running sometime in October. But you can take a look at some of the things that we've created during the meetup. Some of the things that I've published, not too many, but I published a few. An intro to forced layouts on a site called Observable, which is brainchild of Mike Bostock, who's also the creator of D3. And then just one on using D3 tooltips. And I'm currently reading D3 in Action, the 2nd edition by Elijah Meeks, and React in D3 version 4 by Switzik Teller. So I like to constantly surround myself with React and or D3 material. So the outline of the workshop is we're going to cover React, we're going to introduce it, and then from there we will create React components. We are going to then use things like state to manage the state of the application and cause re-rendering. And then we will get to incorporating D3 and React in the afternoon. So some of the expectations of the course are for D3 specific. You've been exposed to D3 in the past. You know, perhaps you've even created a few charts and graphs, gone on to blocks and looked at some of the code there. And now you're looking to incorporate React into a project as well. For React specific, you're new to React. You just started to explore how it can be used to structure an application. Now, that being said, if you have worked with React in the past, you can still take the workshop, but we'll be covering a lot of the basics. And then you will then be exposed to D3 as well. I'm going to spend some time working through the D3 concepts as well. The reasons why D3 and React are such a good team are because React has some certain strengths in D3 as well. So I'm going to cover React strengths. React strengths are components. Components allow us to create reusability, or reusability being a concept that D3 has also implemented in Mike Bostock's reusable components articles. It also has component lifecycle methods. The lifecycle methods we're going to stay focused in on are component will mount and component did mount, and these are essential in controlling the flow of the components re-rendering, as well as updating state, which initializes a re-render, and we do this using this.setState. These are React's strengths. We move on to D3's strengths. We'll see that D3 has things like scales, and we'll be using scale linear and scale band, one of the 2 many scales that D3 offers. It has plenty more scales that you can take advantage of. One of the main strengths of D3, and probably the one thing that kind of really highlighted early on, is data binding, where we can bind to the data set, and D3 can manage new data coming in and updating existing data elements, as well as removing data, similar to what this.setState does when we update state, and on a re-render, how React uses the virtual DOM at that point in time to add or update or remove existing elements. So they are pretty similar in what they try to accomplish. And then React's inter-update exit methodology, which learning D3, you have to work with this. There's just no other way around it. And it is essential in keeping track of the enter, exit, and updating state. So one of the projects that we are going to be building out that day is this React using state and lifecycle methods. So here, just want to show you quickly something that we're going to be covering and review some of the React specific elements as well as the D3 specific elements. It's loading, it's just taking a moment to load, but once it does load, we should see, yes, we have a bar chart built in React in D3. And the React specific elements here are that I want to just kind of show you are class-based components, lifecycle methods, and updating state. And once we get to D3, I'll kind of show you the scales, data binding, and the update exit enter methodology, or the enter update exit methodology. So let's start with the React, class-based components. So when we create React, we create here a class-based component, a stateful component, which means it contains state. All the application pretty much is wrapped up in this, and then we just use React DOM to render those or that component. Inside of that, we have the lifecycle methods that I discussed earlier, component did mount and component did update. They are being pulled from two different phases of React, the mounting phase and the updating phase. You can see that they're both being used to re-render the chart. We also have, I just want to show the specific D3, the React related material, updating state. And we update state using this dot set state. And this is done in the handle add. So when I add an element, you can see that a bar enters on the right. And when I remove an element, it leaves. So the add element updates state and pushes a new object into state. And by doing that, it causes a re-render. And that re-render is then happening right here in the component did update. It's then re-rendering the chart. When we get to D3 specific material, right, scales, data binding, and the enter update exit methodology, we are getting here to the scales, scale band and linear scale, and how we use the domain of data and the range of data or the range of space that we are working in. And scales are a great way to take data and fit it or scale it within the SVG's viewport, the width and the height of the viewport. We scale the data. We're also adding some padding between the rectangles. And then the Y scale, where we're scaling it on the Y scale. Once again, a domain and range are key here to scaling it appropriately. Data binding right here is where we use dot data. And we grab the data set and we bind it and we actually tell it to examine a specific key. So it examines each unique element and binds to those unique elements. And then the enter, update, exit methodology, where we have entering elements and we call the enter method. On the update, we just kind of update the enter method for any elements that need to be updated. And that includes when I add one, you see how the rest of them slide and move, they change in width, they change in position. Well, that's updating because D3 sees that these elements already exist and it needs to reposition them. And then exit. Exit is when I remove an element. We need to remove it from the data set. And then at that point in time, we update state and then state removes it. And then D3 is responsible for taking it from the data set as well. So these are the general concepts that we're going to be covering during the workshop. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email or on LinkedIn. I'd be glad to answer any questions, and I look forward to seeing everyone at the workshop. Thanks.